Hi everybody. I want to show you some of the things that can be done with a little ingenuity and some talent and some cooperative groups. Now, for a class where students had learned how to move their avatar, they learned how to dress their avatar, and a couple of basics with building. I then set them out to develop a project. Let me move this over and make this a little bit lighter. To develop a project where they would be inviting other people into these islands, and among the things they wanted to do was make some comfortable spaces. So students did not have to actually create things, but they did know that they could take items and repurpose them. I deliberately set this a little bit more night-like because one group created a tiki bar. Let me see if I can actually sit on one of the seats here so that students could come in and have some drinks together, discuss the day, and as you can see, this was done by just students who came in on their own. They had some minor tutorials, but I was very impressed with what they were able to do. And they worked in some teams, so they found who had what talents. But again, this was not something that was a big part of the class. They were to use the island at least as a backdrop. The islands already had some materials out there, but this group went a lot further, and they created a tiki bar for everybody. Now, in the same class, which was devoted to education theory and to some of the things we can do with technology, and we use the islands as a backdrop, another one of the things that a team did was actually created a theme park. And again, I was quite surprised because they didn't have to make things on this level, but there was what I call a merry-go-round available, and this particular team decided to make it an art theme park. So we've got Da Vinci over here, and there's all sorts of games that you can play in areas that can be for families to sit and recreate. And this particular group was trying to consider ways to have events that people could come to. And so they created a theme park, and they took items and repurposed them to have artistic backgrounds. So again, this was not a major part of the course. It was not particularly taught. There were several tutorials on how to repurpose items, but this team went off on their own. And in that same final project that had teams collaborating and cooperating for a couple of weeks, another group was making a social studies lesson where they were going to be studying about Egypt and the pyramids. And so they found this part of the island. The island was set up as what I call a Middle Eastern setting that was created by an artist. And so they put in education materials, and you can bring in website links so that links to education materials. But they also took some of the areas that were kind of fun and recreation oriented and decided that would be part of what they would want these students to be able to do. So you see a combination of recreation and education over here, and the setting itself becomes part of the backdrop. So that's just a couple of things that were done very quickly over a 2-week period when there were a lot of other aspects to this assignment, but there were 5 teams, and different teams actually decided to repurpose some of the islands.